Okay, let's pick up mitzvah Reish Lamed Daled. HaMitzvah Ho'arba U'shloshim U'masayim. He shetzivonu bepidyon Ha'Ivriya. And this is an amount, amount in the original Arabic, Judeo-Arabic, which means it's a regular mitzvah. It's not a din, it's a mitzvah. You're supposed to do something. And according to Minchas Chinuch, you have a kiyum. Okay. He shetzivonu bepidyon Ha'Ivriya. The mitzvah is a tzivui about pidyon Ha'Ivriya. Doesn't say who's supposed to do the pidyon, but it says the mitzvah to be paid. We'll see. V'ama yisale v'hofte. Diyazo, whatever it is, yesh lo diktukim utnoim ubo mishpotim rabim. There's a lot of dinim, mishpotim, whatever is by Isbar Mesechus Kedushin. V'shom izboye din Ha'Ivriya ala shleimus. Okay, say we'll continue. So, I'm not sure how bright we are that Kilu we know that there is a mitzvah. We don't know who the mitzvah is on, and the mitzvah is an Ha'Ivriya, and we know that you derive the mitzvah from v'hafte. So let's try to introduce it and get involved, and we'll see what we have. The mitzvah of Pediya, l'cheira, is learned from the Mishnah B'cheres. You find the B'cheres, Yud Gimel and Aleph. The same way that the Rambam learned the mitzvah Yiyud in the previous mitzvah, which Reish Lamed Gimel from this Mishnah, you can also learn there's a mitzvah because the mitzvah, it says mitzvahs Yiyud, Kademis the mitzvahs Pediya. So it means the mitzvah of Yiyud, and it's also a mitzvah of Pediya. And l'chayr, you need a proof for this because the pashta of the kol behefte is a way, a modus operandi to free the Ha'Ivriya. The same way, it's a method to free the Eved Ivri. And in Eved Ivri, there's no mitzvah in pidyon. So one would have assumed the same thing in Ha'Ivriya. There's no mitzvah. So that's what the Mishnah in B'cheres is machadish, that the Pediya is not only a method to meshachrer the Ha'Ivriya, but is a mitzvah. And a mitzvah in Minyan HaMitzvos. Okay, so now we know that there's a mitzvah of pidyon, even though the pasuk v'hafte is not clear, but after the Mishnah in B'cheres that mitzvahs Yiyud kademis the mitzvahs Pediya, so we know that Pediya is also a mitzvah, and the reference in Torah Shebiksav is from v'hafte. Now, the question is, who is this mitzvah on? So, one could assume that the mitzvah is on the Adon. That is what you would assume the from Rashi in Chumash, in Shmos Chaf Aleph Ches, Divrei Maskil v'Hafte, And also, you could derive it from Rashi and Kedushin, Yudal from a base, Divrei HaMaskil Kirechizkiah. And the Sefer Chinuch explicitly also learns like that in Mitzvah Mem Dalet. So, the proofs to this approach is the Pashtus, the Mashmos of the Mechilta, the Rabbi Yishmael, in Mishpatim, Mesechtet Nezikin, Parsha Gimel. It goes like this: V'im sholosh eile lo yaseh lo, yed lecho. Either you should be meyayed for yourself, for you, or lebincho, or pedei. And l'chera, the tzivuyim of yed lecho, or lebincho, or pedei, is going on the same person. So the same way the Odoin, he has the mitzvah of Iyud, either for himself or for his son. He's the one who does the mitzvah's pidyon. Also, one could derive this from the Mishnah B'Cheres, because in all the cases of the Mishnah, mitzvah das kodemis the mitzvah yens is all on the same person. So mitzvahs hapedia kodemis the mitzvah arifa, it's the bailim. Either he should do pedia or arifa. Mitzvah yibum kodemis the mitzvah chalitza, it's on the yavam. Both mitzvahs are on the same person. And there's a kedima. Which one should be done first? So it should be, the Padiyah should be before Arifa, and the Yibum should be before Chalitza. Similarly, the mitzvah of Yiyud and Padiyah are on the same person, but the mitzvah's Yiyud is before the mitzvah Padiyah. That's you to learn from the Mishnah and the Mashmos of the Mechilta. However, this approach is odd, to say the least, because what does it mean that the Adon does the Padiyah? He is the recipient of the Padiyah, not the person who does the Padiyah. So how could it be that the Chinuch in Rashi, that the Padiyah is on the Adon? So the Chinuch answers this question, is that in Mitzvah Mem Daled, that the Adon is Messiah in the pidyon by accepting Giron Kesed. But this is also strange, because Giron Kesed was formulated not only by Mivriya, but by Evid Ivri. And Giron Kesed is just the value of the Omivriya, because you sold her for 6 years, and she worked for 2 years. So basically, you have to pay back 2/3. So there's nothing new over here in Giron Kesed. That's a value. So what is the mitzvah? What's the Messiah? So the Chinuch answers that the Adon could claim schar hamtonas mois. Basically, he paid for 6 years of work up front, and he gave him a loan, kilu, or some type of meko memka. He paid for 6 years up front, and he basically should be able to teveya the schar hamtonas mois. And the schar hamtonas mois is mutter because it's derech mekach. It's not ribis. that's the teretz of the chinuch. The Hadas the Kanim is metaretz and shmos over there, that the Ayal Gedera's work is worth more than the work of Yal Ketana. So in the beginning, the first few years she worked, she was Yal Ketana. The work of the later years is worth more. And the other cannot demand and claim these two tainas, that I want my scham tonas moles, or I want the value of the work of the gedola, not of the ketana. And that was nischadesh in the mitzvah's pidyon on Ivriya, that the other can't have these tainas of scham tonas moles, and the worth of the work of a gedol is more than a ketana. So l'cheira, what you have to say, and that's the amazing thing, that you evaluate Gilon Kesef in Eved Ivri, where there's no mitzvah, and Gilon Kesef in Om Ivri in a different way. L'cheira, in Eved Ivri, you can have these tainas that maybe the question is, is he working the work more or less, depending upon his age? How this Kadim is not so great one way or the other here, but certainly in terms of the chinuch, he can claim the scham tonas mos in Gilon Kesef, and Om Ivri he can't claim it, and he's not claiming it is the mitzvah. That's his messiah b'pidyon. It's an amazing thing, an amazing mitzvah. L'cheira, you can say this only if you derive Gilon Kesef as a separate derivation, not from V'hofte. But if you derive Gilon Kesef by an Eved Ivri from V'hofte, this doesn't make any sense. There's also something amazing going on over here, which I'm going to show you with Al-Ghazi, but I have to show you the backdrop of the Rit Al-Ghazi. The Rit Al-Ghazi in Becheres, in Shit Wabetzes, on your Gimel and Aleph, on the issue of Mitzvahs B'diyah, he says, and takes the approach that the Av could be played there, the Omo Bal Kocho, Shel Odoi. So l'cheira, if he could be played there Bal Kocho of the Odoi, the Maise of the Odoi is a Maise Oines B'Shevi Al Taseh. He's just helpless. And a priori, you would say there's no mitzvah because he's doing a Maisa, as the Rav always said over from the Zeder Rab Chaim, the difference between a Maisa Oines v'kum Vaseh and Shevi Al Taseh. A Maisa Oines v'kum Vaseh is a Maisa Avera, but there's no ancient. But a Maisa Oines v'Shevi Al Taseh is a Kofa Maisa. That's with Achrinim, with Tanai, Tzuva, whatever. Okay. And here, it's coming out. And that is what the Rit Al-Ghazi is ready to say in Becheres, Perek Aleph, Daf Tesam Beis, in the Dapim of the Rit Al-Ghazi, that's the Ramban, oist hezvav, that he takes a double portion, that even Bal Kocha, B'Shevi Al Tasa, there's a Kiyum HaMitzvah on the order, which is a priori amazing, especially of Chaim's frame of reference. So that is the approach of Rashi and the Chinuch, that the mitzvah is on the order. What the problems is, the order, what is he doing? He's Messiah. So whether he could have had certain tainas, which he can't have in Avria, that was one approach. And then the Vital Ghazi says that even some Maisa'inis, B'Shevi Al Taseh, he can have the mitzvah, which is an amazing thing. The Odin is a Shevi Al Taseh, no, he doesn't have anything to say about it. That is the first approach. That's the approach of the Chinuch and Rashi, that the mitzvah is on the Odin. The Ram's opinion, and other Rishonim also, that the mitzvah is on the Av. And there's something mistaba about this, because the father is talking the poida, and the Av is only a Shevi Al Taseh, as we pointed out. The Mechilta is pretty clear. The not different Mechilta in Mishpatim Sechta, the Nezikim Pasha Gimel Dova Acher Asher Lo Ya'odo Im Lo Ya'ade Odoin Ze Yifte Av. It's very clear that the Av is the Poida. And the Psikta Sutrasa on that pasuk also is like that. The Ramban Chumash in Shmos Chaf Aleph Ches V'ato with an ayin im lo yachpoitz bo adoineho v'hefte ho'av haniska. He is the poida. The Av is the poida. He also lo ilanicho oid biad odoin mi eshiome lo chafatzi lekachto. The Av is chayeti poida. The Rav Avram ben Rambam is also mashma like this. In Chaf Aleph, Shmos Chaf Aleph Ches, the Maskilim Lo B'Einei Adoineho, Ze Meire She'ika Kinyono Tzorch She'yeh Letam Hayiyud Hainu Hanisud. The Ika Kinyon Im Lo Yodo, the Ika Kinyon is for you. The other in the bow doesn't want to be mi'aydo, or states a lechiros, or ayde sheyifte oisa oviho. The father is the poider. Now, this is the more interesting thing. If you look at the Rambam in Mishnah Torah, it's very clear that the Dine Pidyon and Gilon Kesef of Ivriya and Eved Ivriya Hainuhach. The Rambam puts most of the Dinim in Perek Beis, where he's talking about Eved Ivri. And the Rambam doesn't bother himself to write all the Dine Pidyon of Ivriya, because you can learn from the Pidyon of Eved Ivri. So it's Hainu Hach. There's no mention in the Rambam that the mitzvah is on the order. And it's Meduik in the Rambam that the mitzvah's Padiyah is not on the order, like Yud. The Rambam writes, Padiyah in the nifal tense, nifal conjugation, excuse me, the nifal conjugation, and yiyud he writes in the kal conjugation. In the Rambam in Hilchos Avodim, Perek Daled Alochates, V'im sholosh eile lo yase lo yada, that's the kal, v'lo yada libno, it's going on he, the Odin, v'lo niftis b'gion kesef. It's an nifal, because the verb is not going on the Odin, the pediya, but it's going on the av, who's not mentioned. So it's niftis, and it's not hoda, because it's not yifte, it's not going on the Odin, it's going on the av. And also, you could have suggested that the Gemara Kiddushin on Yud Chesam Beis is also mashma, that the mitzvah's pediya is on the Odin. Excuse me, is on the av, like the Rambam. Because the lav at the end of the pasuk, the mlo yado v'hefta la'am nochri lo yims, the big devar, that part of the pasuk lo yimko is going on the av. V'hofte la'am nochri lo yimsho l'mocho b'big devar. And the Gemara Kedushin says that it's going on the Av. So if the Lav is going on the Av, you would assume that v'hofta la'am lo yimsho, it's the same indefinite pronoun reference. You would assume that the pidyon is also going on the Av. Hey, look at the Rambam in the Hilchos Avodim Perek Daled Halacha Yud. You'll be surprised that you can both can violate, if I'm not mistaken, both can violate the law, both the Av and the Odin. And Ravam ben Rambam in Shmos Chaf Aleph Ches Tivra Maschel Big Deibo explains that V'hofte goes on the Av, but he says the Lav goes on the Odin. So I'm just saying it's a confusing thing. I'm not sure how much you have a proof from this. I would have assumed that in Rashi in the Chinuch, that since V'hofte is going on the Odin, I would have assumed that the Lav is also going on the Odin, because the whole pasuk is going, Yiyud is on the Odin. The Hofte is going on the Odin, and the Lav is also going on the Odin. But then the crazy thing is, the Rashi al Torah explains that both the Odin and the Av are Musharim and the Lav of Mechira. Rashi Divya Maskal Liam Nochri on that page Chaf Aleph Pasuk Chaf Aleph Ches in Shmos Liam Nochri Lo Yimsho Lemocho, and also in Divya Maskal Big Deba he has the option that the Lav is on both, which is very interesting. If the whole pasuk is referring to the other, why should the Lav depend? I don't know. So, according to the Rambam, that Gilon Kesef in both Omo Ivriya and Eved Ivriya Hainu Hach, we have to ask ourselves, what is this Chadish in the mitzvah's B'diyah? So, l'chayra, you have to say that there's a mitzvah on the Av to be paid the Yom Ivriya. But in the Eved Ivri, there's no mitzvah at all. It's only a din that the Eved Ivri is Yoitza the Kesef, Yoitza the Cheres, Bigon Kesef. So it's interesting. The Gemara in Kedushin Tezayin Beis learns Gilon Kesef of Eved Ivri from Ivriya. So it's a very odd thing. You can ask the washing to be a mitzvah also. It's a very strange thing. We derive the din padiyah from Eved Ivri from Ivriya, but the mitzvah is only on Ivriya. Very interesting thing. Now, I just want to add one thing. It's very possible that the mitzvah padiyah in Ivriya is in one simple case, only in the case where the Odin says, I don't want to be miyayed. The im lo ya'odo v'hefto. The hefto is going on the case where he doesn't want to be miyayed. But if the father sells her, and before the Odin decided, there's no mitzvah, maybe. And the pidyon of Omer Ivriya, before the Baal says, before the Odin says, I don't want to be miyayed, is only a din like the pidyon of Eved Ivri. No mitzvah. That's the second approach. The first approach was the Chinuch and Rashi, that the mitzvah is on the Odin. The second approach is the Rambam, that the mitzvah is on the Av. Now the third approach. We said before that whether the mitzvah is on the Av, we didn't say before, but I was saying it now. Whether the mitzvah, we said only according to the Rambam. The Rambam says the mitzvah is an amal. The mitzvah is a regular mitzvah. L'cheira, both according to the Chinuch, that the mitzvah is on the Odin, and the Rambam, that the mitzvah is on the Av, it's both, according to both of them, it's a regular mitzvah. Comes Rav Sadi going, and it says it's not a mitzvah gila. It's only a din. And the mitzvah is the din om ivriya. And the mitzvah includes mechiras ha'av, the yiyud of the av, and the yiyud of benoi, and pidyon. And yitzios lecheres, they have to pidyon. Or yitzios lecheres, according to the parsha, if whatever the dinim are motziha. And even though there are many dinim in the Pasha of Ivriya, all of them are mitzvah achas min aminyan. Rav Sadi Goyin is chilik on the Rambam, and he holds you can't learn from the Lashon of the Mishnah anything about minyan mitzvahs, b'diyah, kodemis l'mitzvahs, yiyu kodemis l'mitzvahs b'diyah. And therefore he learns Yiyud and Pidyon is one mitzvah. And it's different halakim of the Shrana. And it's a big Shrana, and it's the Din Om Ivriya. He writes like this. It's a Sefer Mitzvah of Sadigoin. Peg Yud Gimel, page 105. V'im hi na'aro shemocho v'yo, then there's something missing. Kashehi v'geres ein, I guess she goes out. Ein nisher is something missing. Omo לחופשי כפי שמבוא בעניין, ברימקו איש הסביתו ליומו. Excuse me, sir. כאשי בוגרס, נשארה אומו, אלו או שאדונהו רוצה. So נשארת אומו if she's not. כאשר היא בוגרס, אין, whatever it is, נשארת אומו, נשארת אומו, אלו או שאדונהו רוצה לסייסו, to marry her, וכן יהיה, או בנו ישאנו, or the son can get married to, או שוויה פודה, או איסו, קודם לכן, ואם לא, הרי היא יוצאת לחופשי, כפי שהמבוא בעניין וחיים כה האיש, הסביתו ליומו עד סוף הפרשה. So it means everything in the parsha is all one long big shana, one long din. Now, an interesting thing, I don't know how many diktukim and tnoim there are in this mitzvah, but there's one that's very interesting. The possibility of padion is a t'nai in the etzem kinyan from Ivriya. What does that mean? That the kinyan of Omer Ivriya from the Odoi has to have within it a possibility of a mitzvah padion, of Gilon Kesef. And therefore, an Omer Ivriya cannot be bought with a pruta, because with a pruta, there's no possibility of Gilon Kesef, because the smallest denomination is the pruta. So you can't have Gilon Kesef. The Rambam in Hilchos Avodim, Perek Dalet Alocha Gimel, Omer Ivriya, Niknis Bekesef or B'Shova Kesef. ובשטר, ואינו נקנס בפרוטה, מפני שצורך לקנויסה בדומים שראויים לגרועוין, כדי שתיגורע פדיונו בתצא. In Eved Ivri, but this is only, I think Eved Ivri and Omavir are the same, but this din of pruta wasn't formulated by Eved Ivri. It was only formulated in Omavir. Because the din of ruin the grown kesef was only said in the mitzvahs padiyah, not in the grown kesef itself. So in Omer Ivriya cannot be bought for pruta, and in Eved Ivri can. And in Eved Ivri, there's a king from Eved Ivri, even though there's no possibility of grown kesef, whereas in Omer Ivriya, there's no kinyan if it's impossible to grow kesef, because it has to be roy for the mitzvahs. Now, here is a point a similar point, but it's shaykh to the mitzvah before, the mitzvah of Yud. Because not only does the kinyan of Amivriya have to be roy for the mitzvah's pedi of Giron Kesef, it should also be roy for the mitzvah of Yud. Therefore, you have to have a person who's roy to Yud in order to make the kinyan Amivriya. So a woman who's not roy for Yiyud cannot buy an Amivriya. The woman has a son, and the Amivriya is roya liyud lebena. So the answer is that the whole Yira Ben is only because the Ben is Kom Tachtov, as the Gemara says in Gedushin and Yudalit. Yudzayin of a base. Mar ba'aniyas habein sheken Kom Tachas Oviv liya'ado u'stei achuza. And Kom Tachtov is only said in the relationship of Ben Ta'av, of Kala Davur, but not in the son who's Yerush his mother. It's not a Kom Tachta. And this is not like the Minchas Chinuch. Minchas Chinuch doesn't assume like this. In Mitzvah Memdal at Ois Aleph, okay, you can choose whatever you like. But this is what I would suggest. This line over here that this pidyon has many dinim and tnoim rabim, mashmos is that there's special peculiar dinim in Amivriya as opposed to Eved Ivri, which is clearly not like the Rambam Mishnah Torah. The Rambam Perek Dalet in Avodim is mashma. There are no dinim yuchodim in Pidyon Amivriya. It's the same exact as Eved Ivri. And all the dinim that I mentioned before in Perek Beis, which is the din of Eved Ivri, all din of Giron Kesef. Okay, now, next. Okay. Well, Mechilta, the end of the Rambam. Okay, one second. Kva Hizbaya, Meseches Kedushin, B'shom Hizbaya, Dino Mivriya, Ala Shleimus, Uve Mechilta Rabbi Yishmael, says, Omru, Beferish, V'im Sholish Eile, Lo Ya'ase Lo, Omru Yiyed L'cho, O Lebincho, O Pedeoiso. So the if Shloish Eile, this is a big chiddush, because in Pshuto Shomiko, Shloish Eile is referring to Shek Sus V'oino. And the Pirush Makubal is coming to say, Shlosh Eil Yaseh, is referring to Yud Av, Yud Ben, and Pidyon. The question is, the Rambam is quoting this as a proof that there's a mitzvah of Padiyah. The question is, what do you see that? Maybe it's just a din. Or it's maybe it's not a mitzvah. This needs work. The Mishnah is a raya. Mitzvahs Yield kodemis the mitzvahs Padiyah. Okay. Next, mitzvah Reish Lamed Hey. HaMitzvah Chomesh Ushloishim Mosayim. He shetzivonu bedin evet Kanaini. See here, he shetzivonu bedin evet Kanaini. It's al tashriya ad the shrana. So this is the shrana. There's a din of evet Kanaini, and this is the mitzvah. Who shenavoid boy leoilo ushein lecheres ela b'shein v'ayin. Very strange thing. What do you want to say? Shein lecheres b'shein v'ayin shein v'ayin. Why is that negayat to the mitzvah? What does he want exactly? Love to see that. So let's start. One second before. Let's just read a little more before. I think it's better. Shein lecheres ela b'shein v'ayin v'hu adin l'shar evorim she'enon choizrin. And even if it's not choizer, is yotze. Kmo shebo bo apir shemakubo v'amo yis'aleh. One apir shemakubo that the kirish shemakubo it's lav daf geshen v'ayin. It's all rashevot. V'amo yis'aleh. And what is the source of the mitzvah? Li'olam bohem tavodu. V'omar v'chiyake ish v'goymer. It's a shein or ayin, whatever. V'loshen gmor gitten. And lamed chesam and alif. Kol ha-meshachra abdoi. Oive b'aseh. Tichsiv li'olam bohem tavodu. Question, what's the I'm told? Shein v'ayin, shichol. The Ram, is going from one thing to the next. What does he want? Fa'izbaya mishpatei mitzvah zo Al shleimus bekedushim v'gittin. Okay, so let's go slowly. Shenavoid is Ibn Tibin and Ibn Iyov. Papach is Shemishtabdin boy. Shenishtabed boy. Kach Omer. Or Shenishtabed boy. Korach told me that it should be Shenishtabed boy. Okay. Is the proper targum. Okay. Now, if you say the Targum is Shenavoid boy, that is mashma that it's mitzvah gilo, it's an amal. But if the Targum is Shemishtabdim boy, maybe there's no kumvaseh. And maybe it's just a din, as the Ram seems to say there's a shrana. So Mishtabdim l'chay is a better translation once you l'chay in context of the idea of shrana. And Ibn Tibin is like the Minyan HaKotzer. Lavoy be'evet Ivri, excuse me, Lavoy be'evet Knaini, lo ilo. In Minyan HaKotzer. Okay, besed. So these are the pros and cons of how you translate certain context. You'd want to go with Kapach's translation because the Rambam says it's Sharana. Now, he has this strange line, Bedin Evet Knaini, and then he's going to explain it. But who? What's the din of a Kנעני? Shenabed boy lo'ilam. They should be meshubed to work. V'she'ein lecheres ela b'shein v'ayin. So l'chera that the mitzvah is koleles two dinim. One is that the Evet Kנעני is meshubed la'adoinoi lo'ilam. And the second din is that he's yotze b'shein v'ayin b'rosh evarim. So the first question you have to ask yourself was, why does the Ram say, oh, that the Evet Kנעני can go out with pidyon? Why are we talking about here of Shein V'ayin? The Ram says in Hilchos Avodim Perikei Halacha Aleph Evet Kנעני nikne v'chulei v'kleines atzmo b'kesem v'shtar u'b'rosh evarim. So why is the focus on Rosh Evarim? So what the Rambam is explaining and specifying are only those drachim that yotze lecheres which are mefurish in Torah Shebiksav, shein v'ayin. But Pei Atzmoi is not mefurish in Torah Shebiksav. And that's the Rambam is trying to tell you, that in Torah Shebiksav there is oived la'olam, but there is a way to go out in Torah Shebiksav, which is shein v'ayin. Okay, now Now, the Rambam quotes the pasuk, "Vu Amar Yis'aleh le'olam bohem tavodu." And then he says, "V'Omar v'chiyaki ish v'goymer." V'loshen gmor gitin kol meshach abdoi yoytze l'cherus. I come keep it call meshach abdoi over basei. Excuse me, over basei. Tichsiv lo b'hem tavodu. Because of Matera, shu mishtachre b'shem v'ayin. So l'chera, what the Ram's trying to do, if you look at the weird of the Lashon, he's trying to explain what the mitzvah is. That there are two psukim which are antithetical. One pasuk says, "Li'olam em tavodu shemishtabdim be'eved lo'olam," and the other pasuk says "Yoytze b'shem b'ayin." And this, let's start and explain, okay? Let's go slowly. The Gemara Gittin Lamed Chesed Aleph is a Meshachres Eved, Esa Eved, Knaini is over Baseh. And the Ram quotes in Hilchos Avodim, Perek Tes Halachavov. And there he only quotes the Aseh. The Rambam, there are many Aseh, which the Rambam is not moine, which we discussed. Mitzri, Adoimi, Dor Sheni, Dor Shlishi. So why does the Ram count this Aseh? If you learn in general, the Ram doesn't count Aseh. So what the Rambam learns is this is not a Aseh, only an Aseh. It basically is a Shran, it's a din. And the Chiddush is that in this din, the mitzvah is to do according to the din, and to be meshachre him is an Aseh because you're going against the din. You have to say like this. The Rambam here is mashma that there's some logical connection between the fact that the Evet Kennani is meshubed and the Yitzir B'Shem V'ayin. If it's an Aseh, there's no logical connection between the two. If it's an Aseh, it's just the Shem V'ayin is just the way that the Evet goes out. So there's no relation between the two. But if you learn it's a Shrana like the Rambam, the Shrani is that the Evet Knaini should remain in the situation, in the matzav of Avdus, except when there's Shein V'ayin. And we don't say that Shein V'ayin is a stira to Li'olam B'hem Tavodu, but it's a shiurim in Li'olam B'hem Tavodu. And that's the way he says it. B'din evet K'nani v'hu shenavad b'y li'olam u'she'ein lo'cheres. The olam is only when there's no Shein V'ayin. And therefore, according to the Ramban, who doesn't learn that the whole thing is one shrana, because he's learning that there's a mitzvah of Lo'elam B'hem Tavodu, which we'll see, Mitzvah Hashem, maybe next week, we'll see if we get to it. He has Shein V'ayin, the Tzivah Shein V'ayin is a separate mitzvah in Minyan HaMitzvos. And according to the Rambam, it's a shiurim in the mitzvah Lo'elam B'hem Tavodu, and it's one mitzvah. The mitzvah shrani is they should remain in the matzah of Avdus, except when there's Shein V'ayin. We explained and we said over in the Chinuch, in the Minchas Chinuch, that in Shrana there's no kiyum. But the Chiddush is, even though there's no kiyum, but if you violate the Shrana, there's an Aseh. There's an Aseh if you're Meshachar Shalikedin, and there's no kiyum. The next thing, which you're going to have to talk about, which is Amit Hashem, I think next week, B'li Neder, we'll have to talk about under what circumstances are you allowed to Meshachar and Evet K'nani? Is it a mitzvah? Is it mokum mitzvah? Is it the dechiyah? Or it's not an issue of dechiyah? How it works? Let's see. The Ran, the Ramban, the Rashba. It's Hashem. B'li Neder. You should all have a chasima teva. We should be zeicha to a shnas chayim v'sholem.
Amen. Okay.